Hello, my name is Cooper Beck, and this is my set design for The Tempest. The Tempest is a show about puppeteering the tides of fate and the deceit of man. I wanted to have the show to have like a puppeteer look to it, to where it takes place in Prospero's mind, and he's a performer in about like the 1920s or 30s. I like to have a tan light so then it's like a desk because he's preparing for it. Inside his head, it's not an actual performance. This was my original concept sketch that I returned for the last project, but I wanted to show it again to compare it to the other actual set. This one I ended up making with the key light that I have here being my desk lamp, so then it's like a desk. I decided to implement all this with the strings in the back, the two flags and the backdrop, and the two lights coming out of the side. I wasn't able to collect any more lights through the rest of the set, but I feel like the lights in the back hit the backdrop really well, with the Tempest still up the sky right next to the curtains. This is some mood lighting where I had where the storm is actually happening, where it's all blue and going through. Here there would probably be like water going around. So my idea for the costumes, specifically for all the characters besides Prospero and Ariel, I wanted it to be like that really creepy puppet doll from the 1920s or 1930s, handmade, and very haphazardly, very put together, that has emphasized facial structure, and very weird looking clothes. But I also wanted to implement that it's, a Shakespeare play, so I have that costume to the very right, from a painting made in that time era where a sailor would wear that, more a rich one, so that would be best for Ferdinand. That's what I did for Ferdinand. I made him very simple looking, and have that more like a actual just cloth from Joann's, and the rest of it kind of making it more lanky, kind of dull, but still colorful at the same time, so that he has that puppet look but still looks like it's taking place back when Shakespeare wrote this. For Prospero, though, I wanted him to look like a puppeteer, of course. I wanted him to have that like brown rolled up sleeves, apron type fit on, and I really like the guy's hair on the left, with those two puppets. I feel like that would fit Prospero's personality really well. Yeah. This is what I did for Prospero. I decided to give him that buff looking jacket that other guy was wearing, while still having that suit shirt under with a tie. That's kind of very all over the place, because this isn't supposed to be a performance. This is all just going on inside of his head, making the writing for it and controlling his own story. The lighting, I wanted it to be like a desk. The main key lighting that I had in the earlier posts back there, I wanted it to be more like a desk area, which I implemented into the set a few pictures back if you saw. And I had other ideas for lighting, so then it was more like a desk but still had that feel of an actual environment where it was constantly changing, with a lot of blues, purples, and even warmer lights for when those events may happen, like when Caliban is getting drunk with the two drunkards. Here are some extra pictures that I have the scenes for. I'll read the scenes for them in just a minute, reciting over them. But this is the lighting for right after the Tempest goes and they're all washed up on shore, and Miranda and Prospero are discussing, talking about the people who are washed up ashore. Really dark below because it just happened, but still that main center light that's like a desk glazing over Prospero. This is when Prospero first meets Miranda and Prospero. Ferdinand is just sitting there, and this is right after the storm, but I still wanted it to be shut off from everything else because I imagined the other characters being on the other side, mainly being frozen in between scenes, or if they haven't entered on yet, they're just off stage. For the main part of the play, Prospero and Ariel will discuss mainly on that upper platform, because I feel like Prospero should have that reign overlooking everyone, while the strings are attached to each side, controlling each story. And sometimes I feel like in that lower platform, other events, that's where Miranda and Ferdinand could have their main scenes where it's just them two, or even when the drunkards get drunk and they all just party inside there, while the spotlight is on them. This one I had mainly for the ending, or close to the ending, when Prospero is kind of looking over his magical powers and releasing them. And I had an idea to where all the strings could be released and set behind once he's done with that wording. Yeah, and I have these 3 scenes here that I will go over. This first one is taking place about halfway through Act 1, Scene 2. And it's just Prospero and Miranda. If by your heart, my dearest father, you have put the wildest waters in this roar, allay them. The sky, it seems, would pour down stinking pitch. But that sea, mounting to the welkin's cheek, dashes the fire out. Oh, I have suffered with those I saw suffer. A brave vessel, who had no doubt some noble creature in her, dashed all to pieces. Oh, the cry did knock against my very heart. Poor souls, they perished. Had I been any god of power, I would have sunk the sea with the earth or air. It should the good ship so have swallowed, and the frauding souls within her. Prospero. Be collected, no more amazement. Tell your piteous heart there's no harm done. Oh, woe the day! No harm. I have done nothing but in care of thee, my dear one, thee, my daughter, who art ignorant of what thou art, not knowing of whence I am, nor that I am more better than Prospero, master of a full poor cell. Oh, the heavens! The next scene I'll be reading is when Ferdinand is first seen with Prospero and Miranda. And I'll start with Ferdinand. The ditty does remember my drowned father. This is no mortal business nor sound that the earth owes. I hear now above me. The fringed curtains of thine eyes advance and say what thou seest yond. What is't? A spirit? Lord, how it looks about! Believe me, sir, it carries a brave form, but 'tis a spirit. No, wench, it eats and sleeps and hath such senses as we have such. This gallant which thou seest was in the wreck, but he's something stained with grief that's beauty's canter. Thou mightst call him a goodly person. He hath lost his fellows, and strays about to find them. I might call him a thing divine, for nothing natural I ever saw so noble. It goes on, I see, as my soul prompts it. Spirit, fine spirit! I'll free thee within 2 days for this. Most sure, the goddess on whom these airs attend, vouchsafe my prayer, may know if you remain upon this island, and that you will some good instruction give, how I may bear me here. My prime request, which I do last pronounce, is, oh, you wonder, if you be maid or no. No wonder, sir, but certainly a maid. My language, heavens! I am the best of them that speak this speech, where 'tis spoken. How? The best. What wert thou in the King of Naples heard thee? A single thing. As I am now, the wonders to hear thee speak of Naples. He does hear me, and that he does I weep myself am Naples, who with mine eyes never since at ebb beheld the king my father wrecked. Alack for mercy! Yes, faith, and all his lords, the Duke of Milan, and his brave son being twain. The Duke of Milan and his more braver daughter could control thee, if now 'twere fit to do it. At the first sight they have changed eyes. Delicate Ariel, I'll set thee free for this. And that was an excerpt from later in that scene. And for the last scene, I decided to do some lighting and stuff for when he's up on the platform for his last time as the strings cut. Now does my project gather to a head, my charms crack not, my spirits obey, and time goes upright with his carriage. How's the day? Confined together. Dost thou think so, spirit? Ye elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes and groves, and ye that on the sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune, and do fly him. When he comes back, you demi-puppets that by moonshine do the green sour ringlets make, whereof the ewe not bites, and you whose pastime is to make midnight mushrooms that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew, by whose aid, weak masters thou ye be, I have bedimmed the noontide sun, called forth the mutinous winds, and twixt the green sea and the azured vault, setting roaring war, to dread the rattling thunder, have I given fire and rifted Jove's stout oak with his own bolt, the strong-based promontory have I make shake, and by the spurs plucked up the pine and cedar, graves at my command, have waked their sleepers hoped, and let them forth by my so potent art. But this rough magic I here abjure, and when I have required some heavenly music, which even I do now, to work mine and upon their senses, that this every charm is for, I'll break my staff, bury it in certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound, I'll drown my book. A solemn air and the best comforter to an unsettled fancy cure thy brains. Now useless boiled within thy skull, there stand, for you are spell-stopped. Holy Gonzambo, honorable man, mine eye is even sociable to the show of thine, for fellowly drops the charms dissolved apace, and as the morning steals upon the night, melting the darkness, so their rinsing senses begin to chase the ignorant fumes that mantle their clearer reason. O good Gonzalo, my true preserver, and loyal sir, to him you followedst, I pay thy graces, home both in word and deed. Most cruelly didst thou, Alonso, use me and my daughter. Thy brother was a furtherer in the act. Thou art pinched for now, Sebastian, flesh and blood. You, brother mine, that entertained ambition, expelled remorse and nature, with who, Sebastian, whose inward pinches, therefore, are most strong, would here have killed your king. I do forgive thee, unnatural though thou art. Their understanding begins to swell, and the approaching tide, which will shortly fill the reasonable shore, that now lies foul and muddy, not one of them that yet looks on me, or would know me Ariel. Fetch me the hat and rapier in my cell. I will discase me and myself present, as I will sometime Milan quickly spirit. Thou shalt ere long be free. And once again, these are my set designs and lighting designs and costume designs